Mooney.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay. Am I supposed to read the disclaimer?
Yes, sir.
The following meeting held during the COVID-19 emergency declaration will be conducted as a virtual meeting in accordance with Ohio's open meeting laws as amended by sub HB 197. The public may observe this meeting on YouTube and Cleveland Channel 20. Ordinance number 499-2020 by Councilman Cleveland, Johnson, Brackatelli, and Kelly by Department of Request to amend the title, Section 18 of Ordinance number 58817, passed June 5th, 2017, relating to giving consent to the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio to remove and replace the existing East 75th Street Bridge, to supplement the ordinance by adding new sections 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D, and 17A to add an authority to apply and accept additional funding and to cause payment to the state for the city's share of the improvement. Do we have a director?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Matt Brown's Capital Projects. So this project involves removing and replacing existing bridge over Norfolk Southern Railroad and Greater Cleveland RTA. The bridge was built in 1931. This is a project. The superstructure and substructure are in critical condition. The rating is done on an annual basis. The current estimate for this project is $7.2 million. Construction cost is about $6 million. The city's local share is $1.5 million. The rest of the funds come from Issue 1, ODOT, and public utility sources. The design is completing up now and it'll be complete in March. We expect to be under contract, ODOT expects to be under contract in July of next year and start construction in August of next year and complete the new bridge in August of 2023. So, and this is in Councilwoman Cleveland's ward.
I just lost my video. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can get it back.
You're still with us.
I can't see you.
We can see you with that glorious long red tie.
Oh, you can see me?
Yeah.
All right, let me see what's going on here. There we go. Okay, I can see you. Any questions about this? Hearing none. Ordinance number 499-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 500-2020 by Council Members Griffin, Johnson, Brackatelli, and Kelly, Department of Request, authorizing the mayor to apply to the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee for state funding for the rehabilitation of portion of Buckeye Road and to accept such funding, to apply for and accept gifts and grants for various entities for the improvement, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into contracts and agreements to design and construct the improvement and other agreements, and authorizing the Commissioner of Purchase and Supplies to acquire, accept, and record for right-of-way purposes real property and easements necessary to make the improvements. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So Buckeye Road from Shaker Boulevard to South Boulevard will be completely rehabbed. It's approximately 1.4 mile long project. The improvements include pavement reconstruction, new sidewalks, new curbs, new ADA compliant curb ramps, new driveway aprons, road drainage, new water lines, traffic signals, and streetscape. This is a city administered project. The Buckeye Transportation for Livable Communities TLCI study will be implemented on this project. Some of those elements will include bike lanes or shared lanes, enhanced crosswalks, and enhanced transit waiting environments. They'll all be included or looked at to be included on this project. The estimate is $5.8 million. Design is on October of this year. We expect to award the contract in October of next year. and start construction in the first quarter of 2022. This is in Councilman Johnson and Griffin's ward.
Okay, yeah, because Buckeye is split down the middle.
Mhm.
Any questions about? Hearing none, ordinance number 500, 2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 501-2020 by council members Bishop, Cleveland, Griffin, Johnson, Brackatelli, and Kelly, by department request. Giving consent of the city of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the state of Ohio for improving Union Avenue from Broadway Avenue to Kinsman Road, to apply for and accept any gifts or grants from any public or private entity authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into any relative agreements and causing payment to the city's share to the state for the cost of the improvement. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, this is the reconstruction of Union Avenue from Broadway Avenue to Kinsman. The city has arranged for and done the preparation of construction plans and specifications, including all engineering reports. It's a 3.2 mile long project. The Ohio Department of Transportation will bid, award, and administer the project. The improvements include asphalt milling, pavement base repair, asphalt resurfacing, installing ADA ramps throughout the project limits, minor curb and walk and driveway replacements, and new pavement markings and signage. A safety grant application was filed in March of 2019, and a notice of award is pending for June. This is a $6.4 million project. The design will be complete in October of this year. ODOT expects to have a contract by March of 2021, and then start construction in April of 2021 and be complete by the end of 2021 with all this work to be done and complete. This is in multiple wards. It's in Councilman Bishop's, Johnson, Councilwoman Cleveland's, Councilman Griffin's, and Councilman Brancatelli's ward. So it touches on all those wards.
Okay, anybody got any questions about this one?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
quickly, we had a public meeting on this, and thank you, Director. It was, there was a lot of engagement. Did we land on, there were a couple of outstanding points. One was some protected bike lanes in the design. Did those get incorporated within the initial design, or are those recommendations for the initial design?
Protected bike lanes, did you say?
Yes, yes.
I'm not aware of protected bike lanes on this project. That typically would not be installed on a project of this type. I can look into that, Councilman, and we'll look into what the requirements are for the project.
Okay, yeah, and it wasn't the concrete protected. It was mostly just in key areas having the posts in some of the area to designate where the lanes are. And then secondly, Union has been 35 miles an hour, and one of the considerations was to lower to 25 mile an hour in the residential areas. Did we get any feedback on that?
I'm not aware of that question being answered yet by the engineering.
Okay.
Looking at it.
Okay.
We'll let you know what they come up with.
Yeah, if you can get back to us on that, that would be great. I did get response back from Manager Switowski. I guess there's some 60 curb cuts that are going to be restored back to curbs, where we had a number of demolitions along that area and restoring the curbing along that area as well. So I appreciate them going out and doing that inventory to restore the street appropriately. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anybody else? Without objection, ordinance number 501-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 502-2020 by council members McCormick, Johnson, Brackatelli, and Kelly by department request, giving consent of the city of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the state of Ohio for researching a portion of West 14th Street to apply for and accept any gifts or grants from any public or private entity authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into any relative agreements and causing payment of the city of Cleveland share to the state for the cost of the improvement. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the city has arranged for the preparation of all construction plans and specifications, including engineering reports. ODOT will arrange for a project sale award to the lowest responsible bidder and provide all construction administration services. The improvements here include asphalt milling, pavement base repair, asphalt resurfacing, and installation of ADA ramps. It's approximately 0.6 miles. Existing pavement markings and signage, which include the bike lanes, will be retained. So there's already bike lanes, so they will retain those and that striping. This is about a $1.8 million project. Design is expected to be complete in October of this year. The bid and award, they're expecting to get a contract in place by March of next year, and then have construction complete by the end of next year, by September of next year. This is also in Councilman McCormick and Brancatelli's ward.
Any questions about 502? Without objection, ordinance number 502-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 503-2020 by Council members McCormick, Johnson, and Brancatelli by departmental request, declaring the intent to vacate a portion of Japan Court Southwest. Director?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this portion of Japan Court is a dead-end alley. The land owns the property that surrounds this portion of the alley on all three sides. Their plan is to remove the back half of the house on the adjacent parcel and convert all of the open space, including the portion of the alley, into a courtyard and green space for the residents at Tinnerman Lofts, and a portion of the restaurant cafe that used to occupy the VFW hall that sits on the adjacent parcel as well. We do have consent from Councilman McCormick for this vacation.
Anybody got any questions about this vacation? Without objection, the ordinance number 503-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 504-2020 by Council members McCormick, Johnson, and Brancatelli by departmental request, declaring the intent to vacate a portion of Lorraine Court. Director?
Mr. Chairman, the purpose of this request is to vacate a small remaining piece of Lorraine Court between West 48th Street, now vacated, and the rest of vacated Lorraine Court as requested by the community school. And this request for vacation has been approved by Councilman McCormick.
Anybody got any questions about 504? Without objection, ordinance number 504-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 543-2020 by Council members Johnson, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, determining the method of making a public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving recreation facilities, ancillary recreation buildings, and other similar structures on city-owned and city-leased park property, including site improvements and the appurtenances, authorizing the Director of Public Works or capital projects as appropriate to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement, enter into one or more professional services and other contracts needed to implement the improvement, to apply for and accept grants and gifts, and authorizing the direct employment for the necessary labor for the Department of Public Works Office of Capital Projects. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this is what we refer to as our sister legislation to the bonds that council passed earlier. So after those bonds are passed, we passed these ordinances that council authorizes us, gives us consent to begin these the spending of these bonds into these various projects. There should be a list on the legislative summary of the projects that are funded through this bond allocation this year. This total cost for this particular bond was $21,981,260. And there's a list of projects for the rec facilities there. These facilities or programs are part of our systematic and technical approach to rehabilitating and managing our infrastructure, which we've presented to council. I believe Marcia Johnson from my office kind of went over that with the council back in March while we were doing the budget hearings. And so we will proceed with these projects immediately following the passage of this ordinance.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think it was a pretty broad when Marcia gave a overview of our capital plan. We have not gotten a breakdown of the updated Rex facility plan. Is that scheduled to get an update on that?
Through the chair to the council member, I believe in the past, we sent you, or council was given a report on the facility assessments for the rec centers. Those haven't changed. We can send that to you again if you would like.
No, I had a report. There's just been no update. I mean, so
we'll reassess every 3 to 5 years as far as condition ratings. So when that period of time expires, we'll go back out and the engineers will go back out and reassess all the facility conditions.
So the question then gets to be in terms of how they prioritize what gets done when. So these are all internal to the department then.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question, Councilman.
In terms of prioritizing, there was a number of projects that need to get done in terms of picking which one gets done. That gets done then by your division?
No, we have a scoring criteria that was in the report that was shared with council. So you've reviewed that. And there's a criteria that each project goes through, and there's different criteria for different types of work that we're doing. So for example, in mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems and pool systems, those are done on a worst first case. So the engineers will go out and assess all of the facilities. And then if things get put into City Works and they're either red, yellow, or green. So if they're red, they're emergency capital repairs. And we go out and make those emergency capital repairs our high priority and start those. Once all the red ones are done, we start working on the yellow ones. So that's how that goes. As far as that's all done on worst first for those types of citywide programs. And then as far as the rec centers go, they're prioritized in order by the criteria we have established in the report, which is basically takes into consideration the condition, the age of the facility, the number of users, and that all those criteria that are in there.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully request we get an update as once construction starts, and then we can get an update towards the fall on where we're at with our facilities plan.
Okay, can you provide that, Director?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay.
And there's a line item under here, $1 million for League Park Master Plan. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, so the League Park, we call it the League Park Master Plan, but this is portions of the League Park improvements that were not able to be completed at the time of its original construction. So there's 3 or 4 primary elements here. One is for field lighting. It was built, the infrastructure to lighting in was built during the original construction, but due to funding constraints, we couldn't put the actual lights up. We do have a vendor that's willing to work with us to give us a price, a reduced price in field lighting. So we're going to work with that vendor to get our local share. This will provide our local share for the field lighting. And also a scoreboard will be included here. There'll be bleachers on the left field part of the baseball field, since there aren't any there now. And there'll be some renovations to the plaza area to make it more user-friendly. We're going to put some picnic tables in the plaza area and clean the plaza area up, make it so that the people can use that area a little bit more. And that's about it. That's what, and we're putting up a scoreboard too. Scoreboard. The field doesn't have a scoreboard. So those are the improvements that'll be done under that project.
So, you know, it does beg the question though, when we looked at our facilities plan, you know, we have Morgana Park, which started having field lights put in 10 years ago and never got completed. So how does that not prioritize when we're looking at condition ratings?
Morgana Park.
Yes.
I don't know. I can take a note and we can get an update on that if you like.
I mean, yeah, that's, I know how to kick the can. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to disrupt the meeting in any way or go off calendar. I wanted to get one in before you, but your pace, I really respect how quick you move through things. So I don't want to mess up the flow. The only thing I want to make, I wasn't sure if Chief Brown or Director Cox were going to be at this meeting today, but I just want to put on your agenda that a couple months ago, when we were talking about recycling, I had asked for an assessment of what it would take while we go through this 12 to 18 month long-term plan to identify one item or two items where there's still value and execute a short-term plan, and I haven't got anything back. So I just want to put on your radar and the committee's radar that I haven't got any update on that, and I will be following up on that. And with that, I just want to say thank you for letting me get that out, and I have to excuse myself. So thank you.
Okay, Director? Did
Yeah,
you
I know
understand what-
Chief Brown and Director Cox are aware of that request. Councilman, they're preparing a response, and they should be in touch with you shortly.
Okay, I would appreciate that because it's been out there for a while, and you know, if we get too far and people get too comfortable just throwing garbage in the blue bins, it's just gonna be really hard to come back from that. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Anybody got anything else about 543?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead, Kevin.
Mr. Chairman, to the director, please. Projects that's happening as it relates to this piece of legislation. I like to get a list of those projects myself. Could you, for the director, can I get a list of those projects?
Yeah, I think you kind of broke up a little bit there, Councilman, but I think you were saying you want a list of the projects listed are shown on the legislative summary. If you look at that, those are the list of projects. There are some citywide programs that we show there. We can break those out to list the specific projects under those citywide programs. Is that what you're requesting?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll get those to you.
I see a couple of hands raised.
Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just to piggyback on Councilman Bishop, prior to passage by the full council, can we get a breakdown of exactly how all this money is being spent? For example, what are we going to do at JFK Rec Center for the $8 million? The citywide pools, which pools are getting worked on? Just break the whole thing down even further for us, if that's possible. And the same with 544 when we get to that piece of legislation as well.
So yeah, so Councilman, to talk to about the JFK Rec Center, this is a new ground up rec center. It's currently under construction. It's located at Frederick Douglass Park in Ward 1. It's adjacent to the new John F. Kennedy High School that Cleveland just constructed there. And it will be open shortly. So that's what that project is. And as I mentioned to Councilman Bishop, the citywide programs that are listed there, whether it's courts, ball fields, playgrounds, safety surface signage, MEP, and roofs, those are all done on a worst first basis. So those are assessed by an engineering firm and by our staff, and the ones in worst conditions that are rated in worst condition, they get for construction that year.
And I understand that, but you've obviously already got the list, right? Sort of like when Councilman Brackatelli was asking for an updated report, and you're asking, we'll just say for citywide pools, you're asking for $2 million. You already know how you're going to allocate that $2 million. So prior to passage of this for the full council, can we just get a breakdown of how this $21,981,261.61 are going to be spent? And then the same with legislation 544, Mr. Chairman, when we get to that one.
Did you understand the request, Director?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, can we get miscellaneous at the end of this with
Sure.
the director? Thank you.
Councilman Jones?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I got to get used to pushing these mute buttons and video buttons. Just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the administration. I know in all of this big flurry of projects that we have, our citizens are very appreciative of the fact that we have a new recreational facility being constructed up at John F. Kennedy at Frederick Douglass Park. The last time we had any kind of investment in recreation facility was when Ralph Perk was the mayor of the city of Cleveland in the 1970s. And at that time, when he gave us our recreational facility, it was only due because he needed to get the vote. And when they built that recreational facility at John F. Kennedy, we had already as a community outgrown it. And over the years, we have not had any kind of significant investments as relates to recreation for almost 50 years. So our neighborhood is very appreciative of this investment. And we want to just take the opportunity to thank the administration publicly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anybody else got anything about 543? Hearing none, without objection, ordinance number 543-2020 stands approved. Ordinance number 544-2020 by council members Johnson, Brackatelli, and Kelly by department request, determining the method of making a public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, determining the method of making a public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving public facility buildings and other similar structures, including site improvements, appurtenances, authorizing the Director of Public Works or Capital Projects as appropriate to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement, enter into one or more professional services and other contracts needed to implement the improvement, to apply for and accept grants and gifts, and authorizing direct employment for the necessary labor for the Department of Public Works and Office of Capital Projects. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is similar to 543 that we just passed. This is authorizing the projects listed for the public facilities bonds in the amount of $9,061,416. The projects here include professional services, which is our ability to engage architectural engineering firms, additional repairs, renovations to City Hall Office 517A, which is the architect's office. So we'll renovate City Hall fire alarm improvements, at the beginning of those fire alarm improvements, a salt dome for the existing salt dome that's currently in critical condition and needs to be replaced. Ridge Road trench drain replacement, which is an emergency capital repair at that facility that needs to be replaced immediately. City Hall roof phase 2. So currently we made repairs to a portion of City Hall last year. As you recall, it was leaking into the council chambers. And so we did those repairs. That was phase 1. This is phase 2 to continue those repairs. And we're currently making an emergency capital repair up there right now for one area. West Side Market. This is an allocation to continue to fund the projects at West Side Market that are currently in construction. Willard Garage phase 3, as you know, we've completed over the last 4 years, phase 1 and 2, and this will be the last phase of the Willard Garage construction for this round to continue to stop the inflow of water into the facility. Music Hall roof phase 2, we're currently out to bid on the Music Hall roof. Phase 2, phase 1 was completed last year, which was the front half of the building, and now this part, phase 2, will be over the entertainment area. And then Public Hall roof phase 1. This is an initial amount of $100,000 to start the engineering assessment of Public Hall roof, but Public Hall roof is in deteriorated condition. And so we need to start coming up with a design solution for that. CMP stables, this is the allocation for the new stables that will be built for public safety. And fire station number 23, these are emergency capital repairs to fire station number 23's drainage and site drainage system, which is completely clogged and collapsed. And then fire station number 26 replacement, this is to funds to replace and construct the new fire station as the old fire station is no longer able to provide the services necessary. So those are those projects here for this year's budget.
Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, the CMP stables, you indicated that this was for the new facility. I don't recall, maybe Councilman Brackatelli or Hairston can help refresh. if we actually pass legislation to move the stables to the new site?
I don't believe we did.
Well, if this $500,000 is going toward the new stables, what is that for?
Director?
This is for the beginning of the new construction of the stables at that site. I believe we presented that legislation to council. If you're saying it wasn't presented,
I don't remember it. If anybody else remembers it, please refresh my memory.
I don't think that's been presented, Director.
Yeah, it was presented.
yeah.
Was it?
It was presented as a proposed site. I don't know that they finalized. They were supposed to do the engineering and environmental, and I just presume that that all cleared the hurdles.
I remember the proposed site. I'm talking about the $500,000. Director, do you know?
It's my understanding that we had consent to begin design and construction at this location. So I'll check, I guess with council law department or our law department to find out what the status of that is.
We'll check with the clerk.
All right, can you do that, please, before we, I don't want to be throwing $500,000 at something that isn't ready to go yet. If this was for design and what?
This would be for design and construction. So we currently have a contract in place to begin the design work that's ongoing right now. And then this allocation will be added to the existing allocations to continue design and then start construction.
All right, Mr. Chairman, can we just get an update on where we were with that legislation? And it's for sure that the stables are moving over to where they recommended them to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Jones? Joe, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just got to get used to pushing that button. Thank you. We have two facilities actually in the Lee Harbor Ward 1 area. One of them is a salt mine that's on Seville Road. That salt mine was put in place and built in the year 2000, 2001. Currently, Mr. Chairman, there is noticeably tiles missing on that salt dome, and in some areas you can see where the wood is rotten and the water is able to come into that facility. And so, Mr. Chairman, to the director, have we took an assessment of that facility and what it's going to take to repair it?
Yeah, I believe we have, Councilman. Would you like me to send that to you?
Yes, are we going to repair it?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Do we know what that timeline is?
I don't off the top of my head right now, but we can get that to you as well as part of our assessment.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Chairman, also, we have the facility that's down the street on Johnson Parkway. That also was installed at a certain time. And I don't know, Mr. Chairman, who's responsible for maintaining and keeping our facilities up. But those are two facilities that are relatively, in the speaking, new, and they look really bad. Do we have an assessment, Mr. Chairman, to the director of the service facility that's located on Johnson Parkway?
We do. We have that. I can forward that to you as well if you need.
Are we going to look to fix that too as well?
Yes, sir.
Do we know when and what the timeline is?
I don't know the timelines right now, sir, on those. Like I said, our program usually for some components is worst first, and then for other things, they're prioritized based on scoring.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, I would think that we should try to look to make these priorities. In the instance of the tiles missing off of this salt mine, it would have been an easy fix to have just went on ahead and put some tiles to replace it, versus letting the water continue to damage the infrastructure of the facility. So, Mr. Chairman, in some of these instances, if we just had a quick repair at that facility, it would help to save the situation where you won't have to invest an enormity of money somewhere down the future by almost rehabilitating it or restoring the whole facility altogether. So I don't know if you guys take that kind of assessment, Mr. Chairman, to the director.
We do look at that. Maintenance is primarily done by Public Works in their crews. But when we go out and assess it, we will document, those missing tiles and things.
Right. Well, it's a little bit deeper than that. The wood, you can see the wood now, Mr. Chairman, to the director. You can see the wood coming, and the tiles have fallen in some areas so bad where you can see gaping holes in the actual building. In addition to that, if depending on where you stand, you can see the light, Mr. Chairman, entering the facility from the hole in the top of the dome. So, Mr. Chairman, can we do anything to facilitate this building being fixed and repaired ahead of time, so we're not paying more over the space of time? And we're talking about just a mere year of rain damage, 2 years of rain damage. That infrastructure is gone because it's made out of wood, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I understand. Director, when you get the information about when it's going to be repaired, can you forward that to us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, further, my concern is once we get the new facility here at John F. Kennedy, I don't know if I should wait until maintenance to talk about this issue. I'll yield to you, but I'm concerned about the existing facility. And can we remove that facility when the Cleveland Public Schools tear the building down?
Okay, look into it, Director, would you please?
We'll do so, Mr. Chairman.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, we have Lee Road, and Lee Road is in a bad place. And I came into council talking about getting Lee Road done from Lee Road miles over to Harvard. So I would like to see, I know that we're spending a lot of money and a lot of projects. I like to see that become a priority because the citizens in Ward 1 are demanding that they get that done because it's one of the most heavily used roads in the neighborhood. People coming as far as all the way from one side of Euclid all the way to the highway. And so we need assistance in that. And I don't know, Mr. Chairman, to the director, have we looked into that project yet?
Yes, Councilman, we are looking into Lee Road. It's on our list of roads, so please be patient with us. It does take several years to aggregate funding from the various sources, whether that's issue 1, state funding, or OACA, or ODOT. So it's a competitive process. It does take us some time to get these funds pulled together for these large projects.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, to director. I just want you to know that I don't have no problems being a participant in helping you to secure those funds. So if that means I have to go and knock on someone's door and say, please help the citizens of Ward 1, I don't have any problems with being able to do that. In the past, council members had a little bit of flexibility in being able to do that, but things are totally different from what it was when I was councilman over 20-some years ago. But I can recall having conversations with commissioners and state representatives and all the like to get work done in my neighborhood. So, Mr. Chairman, I would love to work with you, Mr. Spence, if necessary, to help to facilitate the expeditious movement and getting Lee Road done. That's important to all of the 25,800 citizens. And they express that to me on almost a daily basis. And so I've told them I've turned this information into the administration. So it's my hope that we can get it done, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, can you work with me to help it get that done?
Gladly, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director.
Okay, anybody else have anything about 544?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
real quick, Director, I'm sorry, can you state once again what the improvements are for the West Side Market for the 1.5 million?
West Side Market, as you know, we completed an assessment of the West Side Market facility. We are already starting capital repairs at the West Side Market facility. We're putting in a pilot for new vendor booths right now. We're installing new doors to the arcade area of the West Side Market, initial phase. But there'll be a lot of other improved capital renovations or emergency capital repairs done to the West Side Market over the next few years. And so this funding will go towards those improvements.
So for 543, you mentioned for the Jfk Rec Center, that money was already spent. The rec center is under construction.
Yes, so the rec center at Frederick Douglass is currently under construction.
So we started construction with all the funding in place.
Well, this is additional funding for additional work out there for the rec center. We had enough money in place to start the construction. That's correct. And then this money will be used for additional work that has to be done out there, primarily for equipment and that kind of stuff. So we have enough money for the construction contract, but this money will go towards all the rec center equipment and all the
$8 million in equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the budget for it.
Wow. That's, yeah, I'd like to see the breakdown on what equipment we're buying for $8 million, Mr. Chairman.
Director, can you supply that for us?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Anybody got anything else about 544? Without objection, ordinance number 544-2020 stands approved. That ends the meeting for legislation. We need to have a few minutes of conversation with you, Director, before you go. Councilman Casey and Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Director, have all of the TDS programs for 2017 and 18 been completed yet?
All of the TDS for 2017 and 18? I'll have to check on that, Councilman. I don't know off the top of my head. We do have a large backlog of tree damaged sidewalks in the city, and we're working on that backlog over a several year period. But I can get you an update on where we're at on all of 17 and 18, and then what we'll be doing in the future.
And then for 2019, have the funds been allocated yet for the program? We know we passed the legislation, but has the money been released to start the 2019 TDS?
I believe so.
And do you know if it,
The
if it
bonds
has?
were sold. So let's have to see if we have consent to start spending that money.
And who would give you consent?
Well, council gives us consent, so I have to check if that was done or not, Councilman. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I believe it was. And so, Mr. Chairman, this TDS program is starting to fall behind. They haven't done anything for 2019, 2020 construction year is almost over. So we're looking at projects from 2017 and 18 that haven't been completed. Now we haven't even started the 2019 TDS, and then we're going to need, so we're going on 4 years behind schedule with the TDS. Now we know that once a street was done, that the following year it was supposed to come back and the TDS was supposed to be completed. So this is a program, Mr. Chairman, that if we could start keeping a closer eye on, and if we could get an update from the director for all the projects that were supposed to be done in 2017, 18, and 19, and what work has been completed.
Yeah, not a problem, Councilman. Just so the council knows, as Councilman Casey's point out the program is a little bit behind. The primary reason for that is the contractor that was originally engaged to start this work, maybe it might have been 2-3 years ago, went bankrupt. And so we had a period of time where we had no contracting resources. That contract was then forwarded to another contractor to finish through the bonding company. The second contractor refused to do the work, a lot of the work. So again, we were stuck in a position where we could not get contract. The marketplace had no service contracting service for us to do the work. And then also the project, just so you understand, it sounds like it's an easy thing to just replace a couple panels of sidewalk, but it's a pretty complicated process, and it requires a lot of coordination between a lot of entities. So there is a logistical problem in the field of getting the work done because it does require a lot of coordination between a lot of different groups. And then, so that's kind of what we have addressed a lot of those problems now. We have a new contractor in place and he is addressing those problems, and we are picking up the speed of getting the work done. But we'll report as to where we're at now. There is always a backlog in the program. And that backlog is due to a couple factors. One is just the ability of the marketplace to produce that, to take care of as many tree damage sidewalk locations as we have on a yearly basis. And the other was due to funding levels not being sufficient to actually do all the work. So those are the two reasons why we have a little bit of, those are the three primary reasons why we have a backlog now.
And Mr. Chairman, to the director, who's got the current contract?
I believe it's a company called Katz Construction. I believe we just entered into contract with them recently, and so they've ramped up to speed and they're working on the program.
And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, is this work that could be done by city employees?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't answer that question. That would be really a question for the Director of Public Works.
All right, Mr. Chairman, next time we have, or if we could reach out to the Director of Public Works. I don't know if Public Works actually lakes concrete or not, or if Capital Projects does, but can we try to get an update from Director Cox, Mr. Chairman, on if this is work that could possibly be done by city employees, seeing how the director or the Capital Projects Department is falling a couple of years behind, and maybe we could use Public Works to catch them up.
So it's a good thought. Matter of fact, I'll speak to him myself about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In fact, that was the exact same questions that I had as my colleague, Councilman Casey. I recently reached out a few months back about the TDS work for Ward 10 back from 2017 to 2018. So Councilman Casey, no, it has not been completed, and I don't know really how far along we are. To the director, so just so I'm clear, there's a contract that's been entered into with Katz Construction, who have began to work on the backlog of the TDS projects that were from 2017, 2018, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Councilman.
And has this Katz Construction given through the chair to the director of timeline based on the incomplete projects that were given to them, on how long that they anticipate on working through those locations?
Yeah, we have a preliminary schedule on the work that we have in place right now. Mm-hmm.
Can you forward to council, through the chair to the director, can you forward to council so it can be distributed to each of us, so we can know what the timeline is of the locations that they have received for repair?
Yeah, we can do that. We can give you the update we have.
Great. And once we get through this backlog, do we anticipate, through the chair to the director, on being back on schedule with the year after TDS work that is supposed to be completed?
Yeah, our intention is to, over a period of time, get through the backlog, and then once we get caught up, we'll be able to maintain a more timely delivery of these TDS locations.
Well, I hope so, because I'm getting calls from back when streets was done by my predecessor. the sidewalks and some of the issues had not been taken care of, then obviously going into my tenure here now. And so I'm glad to hear that we finally have gotten to a place where we can begin to work through these issues. So Director, Chair, I'm sorry, if we can just ensure that we receive that information, I think it would be great for all of us to have, so that way we can respond effectively to our residents once they reach out. Because trust me, they have not, when we put out the notices, letting them know the work is going to be done, they are aware and they have not forgotten about that information. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Mine haven't forgotten either. Director, can you supply that for us?
Hey, Councilman, I'll put a memo together requesting the information that was raised at the committee table this morning. So I'll put that together.
All right, thank you, John. Councilman Jones. Push the button, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hate to beat a dead horse, but my councilman colleague Casey asked the question, do we have, in order to sufficiently deal with the backlog, can we have some city employees begin to work to do this work? And the question is, Mr. Chairman, to that is, do we have the capacity?
We'll find out, Joe. I don't know whether you can answer that, Director. Can you? If we have,
Mr. Chairman, I don't have an answer to that question. My apologies.
So,
I'm gonna talk to Director Cox on Wednesday, and I'll bring that up.
Right, because Mr. Chairman, the issue is that, you know, we're asking for it, and, you know, I'm not so sure if we have the capacity. And I know we have been struggling since I got on the council. We can't even cut a vacant lot with house structure on it. So when we start talking about, do we have the ability to go out there and deal with this backlog, I'm not so sure. So, and I don't have the confidence that we have what we used to have because of the simple fact that we've outsourced so much of these contracts to people who, you know, they are what they are. And so now at the end of the day, I'm concerned about the backlog and just how far, Mr. Chairman, are we, Director, backlogged? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? Is it 8? What should we tell our citizens?
Director.
To the chair, to the councilman, when we're going to send you the TDS report, and it'll as Councilman Harrison requested, and it'll indicate all that in there in the report for you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you know, I'm just, you know, hey, listen, I'm wearing a lot of jackets, and this is no issue to you, Director, but I got to go out here and knock on people's doors and tell them to put their cars off of their front lots. On their front lawns. I have to knock on their doors and be a housing inspector and tell them they need to fix their gutters. I got to knock on their doors, Mr. Chairman, as a health inspector and tell them to cut their grass. And so I got too many jackets to wear, Mr. Chairman. So my question is to the director, is it some way when we have these kinds of situations where there's a delay in these projects that the administration just mail out to its citizens and tell them they're backlogged and tell them that, hey, this is our preliminary estimate of getting something done? Because at the end of the day, if we get into the backlog, Mr. Chairman, it is the responsibility to whoever the director or commissioner is to be able to state to us when they're going to get it done, because it's a priority. And they have the systems in place that can give us an answer to that. We shouldn't have it any other way. If my managers who run my business tell me we have a super delay on something, then it's their responsibility to tell me when they're gonna fix it. And then that way I can tell my clients when it's going to be fixed. And in this case, it's our customers. Our customers are those citizens. And then it falls upon us as council members to be able to communicate with them, to let them know what's going on. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to know what's going on, what's the delay? And then finally, Mr. Chairman, to the director, can you send a notice out to the people out here in Ward 1, letting them know when this is going to take place and when it's going to get done? I feel that's not my jacket. And I don't want to wear another jacket, Mr. Chairman.
Director, can you arrange that?
Yeah, usually we send a press release as we go into the awards for the projects. So that's what we'll continue to do.
Well, we ain't did it in this one, Mr. Chairman.
Director?
I'll look into that, Councilman. I'm not aware that press releases weren't sent out on all your TDS projects.
Yes. Now, do we know how many projects, how long it's going to be, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Mr. Chairman, I think that Councilman Harrison and Councilman Casey asked that question. That'll be something that we report to you as far as how the TDS program is going. Once we get that question from council.
I see. So we don't know right now, Mr. Chairman. We don't know. We don't know. We don't
No,
know.
we know.
But he's gonna get that to us.
We know, I don't have the information in front of me to share with you at this time. Once we have the information in front of us, we'll share it with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the director.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Director.
All right, thank you, Councilman. See you soon.
All righty.
Everybody have a good day. Is that it, Mr. Chairman?
That's it.
You guys have a good day. Godspeed. Have a good one, Mr. Chairman, and to